7 steps of changing interrogative sentences from direct speech to indirect speech. In this episode, we shall be learning how to change imperative sentences from direct speech to indirect speech. So let's get started. So before getting into the rules, let us first know what is an imperative sentence. An imperative sentence is one which expresses some kind of a feeling, right? So whatever feelings are there, we have different kinds of feelings, right? There is a tone which is expressed in a sentence. It expresses some kind of a strong feeling. Like it can give a command, it can be an advice, it can be some kind of a help or a request, it can be a suggestion, it can be an instruction, or it can also be a forbidden sentence, right? So imperative sentences express some kind of a strong feeling. Like, look at these sentences. Please stand up for the national anthem. This expresses a request. No parking in front of the gate expresses an instruction. Do not eat junk food. It's a forbidden sentence. So there are close the door is a command. So these kind of sentences express strong feelings. These are all imperative sentences. Let's know how to deal with these sentences. How to deal with sentences where the reported speech is an imperative sentence. So just like the previous sentences, we have already dealt with declarative and we have also dealt with interrogative sentences. Imperative sentences have also got a sequence of steps. How to, before changing them, that we should know before changing them from direct speech to indirect speech. So the first step is identification. Identification of subject and object. Then we have got to change the reporting verb. We need to replace the quotation marks with to. And we need to change the pronoun using the SON formula, which we have earlier discussed in our previous slides. The SON formula, to know more about it or to know details about this SON formula, please refer to the previous videos. And lastly, we update the time and place specific words, which we call it as adverbials. So these are the 5 steps that that is involved in changing imperative sentences from direct speech to indirect speech. Let's get to know them in greater details. So these are the 5 steps: identification of subject and object, changing the reporting verb, getting to change the pronouns or the possessives that are used, and updating the time and place denoting words. Words denoting nearness are changed to words denoting distance. Now let's get to know. So we already know how to identify the subject and object. So the next step is we have got to change the reporting verb. Reporting verb in case of imperative sentences could be different for different kinds of imperatives. According to the tone of the sentence or according to the feeling that is expressed in the sentence, it can be ordered. If the reported speech is an order, bring the notebook here is an order. Then it can also be a request if it expresses some kind of kindly help me or please do it for me. So in these cases where there is a request which is expressed, you need to change the reporting verb set or set to requested. And if it is an advice, like avoid junk food, go for a walk daily, an advice which is given by an elder to a younger a senior to a junior, a mother to a mother or parents to a child, or it can be the doctor to the patient. Such kind of sentences do take this reporting verb advised. It can also be a suggestion when it is from the younger to the elders, a friend to another friend. So you give a suggestion. So in those cases, the reporting verb said to in the direct speech changes to suggested in the reported speech. And if it is a forbidden sentence, like there is something that you are being stopped from doing. Don't cheat in the exam. These are sentences where you are forbidden from doing something, where you are forbidden, where you are stopped from doing something. In those sentences, you will change, in these kind of sentences, you will change the reporting verb said or said to forbidden. Forbidden sentences which have got the reporting verb forbade, right? Forbade. So let's get to deal with the next steps. As we already know, we can change the pronoun using this formula SON, where if the reported speech is in first person, then it changes according to the subject of the reporting verb, right? Alex said, I need a book. In these kind of sentences, reported speech is in first person. So if the reported speech is in first person, then when you are changing them, then you have got to change the pronoun according to the subject of the reporting verb. So when we change it into Alex said that I, first person, changes according to the subject Alex. Alex is a boy, so we use he for Alex. He needed a book. Now if the subject of the reported speech has got a second person, then it changes according to the object of the reporting verb. Like supposing if I say, Alex said to me, I need your book. Right? In this case, you can see that there is a second person. The possessive is a second person. So in these cases, how do you change? You can write Alex told me that he, since this is first person, changes according to Alex. He needed your, is a second person, changes according to the object. So for me, I shall be using the possessive my book. Right? He needed my book. And if it is a third person, there is no change. Alex said, Ravi is in our team. Here, this reported speech has got a third person. So there is no change. How do we write it? Alex said that Ravi remains as Ravi. There is no change. Ravi is in our team. Our first person, right? Ravi is in our team changes to was in our team. Right? So in these cases, children, when the reported speech has got a third person, there is no change. This is what we have already This is what we have already studied in the previous sessions about the use of SON formula to change the pronouns in the reported speech and the possessives in the reported speech, right? So do have a good practice as to how you're going to change the personal pronouns and the possessives. Let's move further. The next step is update of time-specific words or place-specific words. These are called adverbials. These are called adverbials. As I've already told you, words denoting nearness changes into words denoting distance. Here changes to there. Tomorrow changes to the next day. Today changes to that day. Now changes to then. Ago changes to before. This changes to that. These changes to those. So if I'm going to write, the teacher said, you have a test now. I can change. You can see that there is a word which denotes time. So we need to change it while we are writing the sentence in the reported speech. How are we going to write it? The teacher said that we had a test. We had a test. Have a test, which is present perfect, changes into past perfect. We had a test. Now changes to them. Them. Right? So this is how it changes. So you need to update the time and place specific words as well. Right? The next step is to sum up. So these are the various things. The next step that you have to follow is this: replace the quotation mark with to plus verb. To plus verb. As we already know, children, like that as we already know that imperative sentences always begin with a verb, right? Close the door, stop talking, come here. They all begin with a verb. So when they begin with a verb, we need to replace the quotation marks with we need to replace those verbs with their infinitive forms. So how do we do it? First step, we need to identify the subject, the object, and the reporting verb. Even if there is no object in the direct speech, you need to always imagine the subject, and the subject is hidden. It is concealed in the imperative sentences. So we need to change the verbs that are used into their imperative form. Come here changes to come or to go there. Stop it changes to stop it. Write neatly changes to write neatly. To plus verb, which is an infinitive. Now words denoting please, kindly, in case of request kind of sentences will all be eliminated. We will have to eliminate them while we are changing the sentences from the direct speech to indirect speech. The negative form, if it is a negative sentence, right? If it is a negative sentence, like supposing don't talk in class, then we have to replace it. The teacher asked us, or the teacher instructed us not to talk in class. Or you can also change it into a forbidden sentence. The teacher forbade us to talk in class. Both forms are correct. So you have to replace, if it is a negative form, you have to replace it with the not to form of the verb. Not to. To talk changes to not to talk. Close changes to not to close. So, and you can also write it as a forbidden sentence, right? Like supposing if I say, the teacher said, write neatly. So this is an instruction which is given. This is an instruction which is given. So I can always write it as, if I'm changing this into the reported speech, I can write it as the teacher instructed whom? Instructed us. As I have already told you, write neatly means you write neatly. The subject is hidden or concealed. So instructed us, write changes to write. As I told you, it changes into the infinitive form. Write changes to write. Yeah. So neatly. If I'm going to make it into a forbidden sentence, like supposing I say, the teacher said, don't scribble. Now this is a forbidden sentence that the teacher is stopping you from doing something. So in those cases, you will change don't word into not to. How do you write it? The teacher instructed us not to scribble. Instructed us not to scribble. And if I'm going to write it as a forbidden sentence, I can also write it in this way. The teacher forbade us to scribble. Always remember, forbidden sentences are always positive sentences. And when it is a negative sentence, you need to change the word into a negative form. Scribble, not to scribble. Don't scribble changes to not to scribble. Don't talk changes to not to talk. Don't go away changes to not to go away. So this is how you are dealing with negative sentences which are imperative, which are imperative sentences. Right? So let's understand it better with few examples. Right? So this is the structure, children. The imperative sentences in the reported while you are changing them. This is a structure of the imperative sentence. There is the subject. This is the reporting verb. There's the object, and there is the 2 plus v1 form, or the 2 plus verb, that is the infinitive form of the verb that is used. And the rest of the sentence is in reported speech, which consists of the change of the pronoun using the SON formula and update of the time and place denoting words, which we have already studied in our previous slides. Words denoting nearness changes to words denoting distance. So that's how you deal it. And in case of a negative form, if it is a negative sentence, you use the word forbade or not to. This is the basic structure, how to change imperative sentences from direct speech to indirect speech. Let's understand it with some more examples. The teacher said to the students, complete your homework tonight. Now this is an order where the teacher expresses some order or a command. So first step, identify the subject, identify the object. Reporting verb said to changes to, according to the tone, it is an order, so it changes to ordered. The teacher ordered whom? The students. Always remember, these reporting verbs in the reported speech are always followed by a noun or a pronoun. You will never use ordered to. It has always got to have the noun or the pronoun. The teacher ordered the students to plus verb, right? So ordered the students to complete. Here the verb use is complete, so it changes to complete. And next step is the change of the pronoun. So what is the pronoun here? Used here is your. So we need, since it is in second person, it has to go according to the object. What we know it from our SON formula. So your changes to their. Tonight, which is a time denoting word, changes into that night. Tonight changes to that night. So if you're going to put them in this formula, how are we going to do it? The teacher ordered the students to complete their homework that night. To sum up everything, just put them under this formula. The teacher ordered the students to complete their homework that night. That is the final step. Let's see another example. Please help me with the project. Please help me with the project. Now this is what kind of a sentence? This is a request. This is a request. First of all, we should remember that we are going to remove these words. Please, kindly, all these words are supposed to be removed. Right? Now, then identify subject and object. Reporting verb said to changes into requested. He requested me. Help changes to help. Me. Request me changes according to the object. He requested me. So if I'm going to write, he requested me to help him. Me, first person, changes according to the subject. Subject is he. So for he, we are going to write this possessive as him. With his project. Please help me with his project. With my project, if I'm going to write, please help me with my project. So my first person changes according to the subject. So for my, you will be writing his, right? Because it changes according to the subject. Subject is he. For a boy, you will change it into his. So the final sentence is, he requested me to help him with his project. I have just made the sentence a little more complicated, adding two pronouns. Right? How are you going to change it? Just remember your SON formula and you will be able to do them. Next sentence here is another sentence. The coach said to the players, kindly work on your fielding. This sentence is again expressing a request. So for reported speech, first omit these kind of words, kindly. Then identify subject and object. The coach said to. You can write it. It can also be an advice. If it is from a coach to the players, you can also use requested. Both are correct here. Requested. The players to work changes to work on their fielding. Your is second person, changes according to the players, which is the object. So for players, we are using their, the pronoun their fielding. So this is the entire change. Now moving ahead. This is a forbidden sentence, children. The traffic in charge said to him, don't jump the signal. Don't jump the signal. This is a forbidden sentence and a negative sentence. How are you going to write it? First identify the subject. The traffic in charge. Here the subject is traffic in charge. Object is him. So the traffic in charge instructed him not to. Don't jump changes to not to jump. Not to jump. Jump the signal. Or if I'm going to put it as a forbidden sentence, I'm going to write it as the traffic in charge forbade him to jump the signal. So this is how you deal with forbidden sentences. Finally, you can see here. The class teacher said to him, submit the assignment now. There is a time word. There is a time denoting word now. So we are going to deal with it. We have already known how to change the time denoting words. Now changes to then. The class teacher. It is an order. It's an order by the class teacher. Ordered him. Submit changes to submit. The assignment then. This is the time denoting word. Words denoting nearness changes to words denoting distance. Now changes to then. Try to utilize all the steps, all the rules that we have studied in solving this, and please put them in the comment section. I'll be happy to help you if there are any glitches or any confusion. Feel free to share with me your doubts. Feel free to share your feedback and suggestions. Thank you. Have a great day. Happy learning.